Hello and welcome back to the Letterbox podcast, the place where I share real letters from real people, one letter at a time. I'm Lucy, and a few times a week I read a letter exactly as it was written by the person who sent it. No edits, no interviews, just their words. Today's letter comes from Paolo, and he wrote to me from what he calls the sleepy Middle Eastern countryside. He tells me that this piece is about the joy of travelling, the beauty of taking time, and a letter to a beautiful place he's just recently travelled back from. His is a love letter to Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. He first visited the city as a teenager, then returned 13 years later. He discovered that perhaps the place hadn't changed nearly as much as he had. If you enjoy listening to today's beautiful and poetic letter, I'd love for you to follow the podcast. And then if you can share it with someone who you think might enjoy it too, it really means the world to me. It means I can keep bringing you these letters from all over the world. And of course, if there's a letter you've always wanted to write, perhaps to a person, a place, a memory, or even a version of yourself, you can find all the details you need in the show notes. So here it is, Paolo's love letter to the city of Tbilisi. Dear my Westward Lady, we met on a quiet summer. I was scared to travel, stuck in my bubble, in the routine of teenage holiday. You were my first trip westward, a place I couldn't find on the map, a land lush and city old, unlike the future where I was born. I remember standing out, 3 shades darker than anyone else. I remember your wine, and I remember wanting to leave. How silly I was, naive and young, only to return 13 years later and realize just how pretty you were and how beautiful you've become. Though much has changed, you greeted me with familiar blue skies while the grass draped over you like a perfect dress. Then and there, I remembered the shape of you. In the city, I was happy to look at old buildings where the stone was exposed and balconies unique. No glass, no gold, no ivory towers, just houses where real people lived. We drove by our old place. It got turned into a holiday home. Though it was gentrified, I'm glad the beds are still warm. You dress quite differently now. More rebellious, unbridled, leather jackets, denim, punk rock, and the smell of cigarettes. I think that look quite suits you. And I would gladly take your attitude over monograms, high heels, and proclamation of simplicity. We've both become grizzled. Me with my eye bags, you with your graffiti. And though you lived in a man's world, I'm glad you never caved in. The books on the pavement were plentiful. We spent hours reading by the lobby. Then we went to get coffee when our eyelids became heavy. We'd sneak away from our friends to talk. We'd watch jazz on cold nights. You listened to me go on about how beautiful the people were because they were so different from the ones I knew. We saw the relics of your past while I told you stories from the Orient. You told me about your history, and I listened this time. We gave away so much in tips to musicians, poets, and cooks. We'd put down our phones and leave our days to chance. We took wrong turns, turned away scammers, drank coffee again, and took many pictures. We bought each other gifts. We went to watch a wedding. We danced, and we danced again. Then we drank to understand each other. We stayed up late. We ran from the summer rain. You watched me become kinder. Then we sat in a park. On a late night, I began writing poetry again. There were still so many things I wanted to say in just a week together. We lived so many lifetimes. Our days were full, our bodies were drunk, our feet ached, and we kept going. The next morning, I dressed up slowly. I played a song to remember you by, and on my way to the airport, I saw you walking down the street. The lady who stole my heart. Then and there, once a boy's, now a young man's. Perhaps you'd still have space for me, because one day I'd like to propose, though if you'd be so kind to wait, I'd like to ask you out for dinner first. And when that's done, we'd read more books, go on walks, and get coffee when our eyes closed. The day after, I'll ask you out to lunch. We'll spend the afternoon together over cigarettes, graffiti, and parks. And because it's real, we'd do it again. Because in love, we take time, and all good things come with age. So let's wait. Let's be slow. Let's live, let's grow, let's meet again, let's share more stories, new and old, and when that's done, we'll walk, we'll dance, we'll drink, and happily plan the days after. That was Paolo's love letter to the city of Tbilisi that he called his Westward Lady. I think one of the loveliest things about that letter is it's a reminder that not every love story has to be about a person. Sometimes it is about a place. It's about returning somewhere years later and realizing that what changed wasn't just a city, but it was you. And I think it's so true and something that so many of us will be able to relate to. And that's that as a child or a teenager, sometimes you really just don't recognize or appreciate the beauty that you're surrounded with. And going back as an adult, you see things through different eyes. You see the things you missed before. And there really is a magic in that. So thank you, Paolo, for trusting me with your words. Again, if you enjoyed today's episode, please follow the Letterbox podcast wherever you are listening. It helps more people to discover these stories. And I'd really love as well if you could give the podcast a rating and then don't forget to share it with somebody else. Let's see how far these letters can travel. Remember, if you've got something you want to share in letter form, whether it's joyful, heartbreaking, funny, hopeful, or something that doesn't really fit neatly into any category, I would love to read it. So head to the show notes and you'll find out how to send your own. Until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Letterbox podcast, the place where every letter reminds us that we're never as alone as we think.